Oh, hey, this is Matt. Um, Basically, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about pads, especially in a worship environment. Pads are just really useful to give that foundation, that glue to the sound. So, consequently, been doing a lot of searching for some great sounding pads. And something that made my, kind of caught my ear was a pad that Hillsong United seems to use quite a bit. It basically sounds like a Hammond B3 in somewhat of a pad form. I'm assuming that they're using a real Hammond on stage, as I've seen one on their stage before, with someone actually sitting there playing it and rocking out the swell pedal, and then putting reverb or delay in the chain to give it that pad feel. Since I don't have a Hammond B3, and I doubt many of you do, I did some searching, some researching, and some trial and error, and found a method that works pretty well for me. Um, Basically, just to kind of set the stage for this, for a pad, what's really important is to give that characteristic pad sound, you need to have a slow attack as well as a slow release. For those of you who aren't too familiar with these terms, basically attack and release are part of what's called the ADSR envelope. Um, the ADSR envelope is found on most synths and samplers. It's found in Reason all over the place. Essentially, what it is, ADSR stands for attack, decay, sustain, and release. What we're concerned with is the attack, which is how long it takes for the sound or the sample to reach full volume after you press the keys. So it's somewhat of a fade-in effect. And release, which is how quickly the sound fades out when the note ends, when you take your hands off the keyboard. So, seen as most Hammond samplers don't tend to have the ADSR envelope, particularly the one that I'm using, which is made by Native Instruments. It's called Native Instruments B4. It's a great sounding Hammond modeler. It doesn't have an ADSR envelope, so I've got to find some way around that. So the tools I'm using for this, Native Instruments B4, which you can actually download a demo on their website. Sounds real good. I've got that on the first MIDI channel here. And then on the second MIDI channel, I've got a plugin called Automat, which is a free three oscillator sampler, or more accurately, it's a soft synth. I don't really know how to speak the English language. At any rate, it's free online at www.alphacanal, canal is spelled with a K, so it's alphakanal.de, and it's free for download. I'd recommend picking it up as it's very useful for a lot of things. So essentially what I do is I use Automat as a carrier just to use its envelope, ADSR envelope. They attack, hold, decay, sustain, release. Sorry, there's that H in there. Attack, decay, sustain, release. I really need to think things through before I say them. But we're mostly using it for its attack. So in order to do this, you need to make sure all of the oscillators are turned off, and then make sure, actually you only want to use one oscillator and set it to line in, so it'll accept a line in from another track. And then you'll be using this to adjust your attack. So we'll set it at about halfway. Now, we need to make sure that the track containing a B3 is sending the audio to the second MIDI over here to Automat. Make sure the monitor in on both of them. So, what this will allow us to do is use Automat for its ADSR. So, now that we've got it set, so you see that it does have a slow attack, but we don't have our slow release. Since it's just straight audio that you're putting into Automat, this release will not do anything. So what we need to do is compensate with effects, delay or reverb. Automat has built-in reverb, so we'll just use that for this example. Turn the reverb on, and that helps things a bit. You can kind of crank up the mix, the size, maybe turn up the high cut a little bit, turn down the low cut, and then you've got the beginnings of a nice sounding B3 pad. Obviously, it'll take a little bit of tweaking and playing around with, but through Automat, you can do this with pretty much any instrument, which makes things a lot easier and opens you up to a lot of possibilities. So, that being said, I hope this helped somebody. And if you have any suggestions for me, if I missed anything, or any questions on anything that I talked about, feel free to leave a comment for me, and I'll answer relatively quickly, as I have nothing going on in my life. That's really depressing. Okay, anyway, well, this is really awkward.